In this video, I'm going to attempt to redesign this web page, and our final result is going to look like this. Okay, so the reason why I decided to redesign this web page is because I could see here that one of our community members, her name is Claire, was having issues with this landing page. So I'd like to use a starter site in order for me to quickly design this main landing page and make it look like this. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. So this website is in French. So what I'm going to do is to just refresh this and just translate it automatically to English. So I'm just going to make sure that English here is selected. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, I am using the Initia starter site, which is based on Divi 5, and also it's on sale. The link to that will be in the video description below. The idea with the starter site is just to help you build your web pages super fast when you have those clients that you have quick turnarounds that you want to work on. All right, so what I'm going to do here is to click on this plus button. Okay, I'm going to say add from library because the starter site already has your pre-designed sections and there's different variations of the styles. All right, so I'm going to look for my hero here because that's what I need, and you can see all my hero options are shown. I'm going to go with hero 1. Now, what you can also do before you add it, you can do a quick demo here so you can see what it looks like before you apply it. And for sure, I want to go with that. All right, so now I'm going to say use this section. So now that it's added, you can see by default, I have this image here of, a dentist, but because our design here, it has something to do with transport and we have mountains here. So one of the design tips that you need to bear in mind when you're designing websites is to make sure that the visual that you have has an idea of what the website is about. So in this case, I can see here it says travel with complete peace of mind from departure to arrival. So this has to do with some sort of a travel business. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to change this background image. So first of all, let's get rid of this section. So by selecting this, I can now go into the background. Now I've already looked for some images ahead of time from Unsplash, and I've uploaded onto the website. So over here on the background image, I need to delete that. Okay, and then I can choose which image I want to use. Now there's several images that I downloaded. So there's this one here. Let's just upload it so you can have a quick look. Okay, so this one here has the road, but as you can see, it's not clear enough. So at this stage, you can decide whether you want to have this image or you want to have a totally different one. But I'm going to come over here to the background and go into the gradient. Okay, so with the gradient here, what I'm going to do is to click on the first color and just get rid of some of the color there because my contrast is pretty much good. So as you can see, you can easily go in and make a few customizations to our design here. The next thing I'm going to do now is to really make sure that my image is aligned properly. So I'm going to go to sizing, aspect ratio. Let's go with 16 by 9. Okay, I think this will give us a really good aspect ratio. Hit enter. So now I have my 16 by 9. And let me see if I can 16 by 9. Yeah, I think this is fine. So I can either use this image right here or I can choose another one. So you may say, you know what, maybe you want to use an image like sort of like this one here. Okay, because remember in the previous one, we had some mountains, which we have here. This could be something that may need to be preserved as we're designing. So I'm also bearing that in mind. So now that I've added my image here, and by the way, you should try out these images to see which one works better. Let's see, I've got another one as well, which is this one. Again, you could go with this one if you wanted to. Now, while I have this selected, what I'm also going to do next is to make sure that my section here is set to full. Okay, I want this to be a full section. So now you can see it's completely full and I think we're great. So the next step now is to just make sure I have the image that I prefer, which is this one. All right, so now that I have that, we need to move on to the next stage. But before we do that, we need to make sure that our image here has the right dimensions, and we have our 16 by 9 here, which is fantastic. All right, so let's move on to our next section, and this is going to be the features. So I'm going to click on this plus button, add from library, and let me search for my features. Okay, so for my features here, I'm going to select this one and use the section. All right, so now that I have my section here for my features, I need now to come over here and start adding my content. So I need to decide what is going to go where. So I'm going to start with this area here, because this, in my opinion, is very, very important. So I'm going to first of all copy the text like that. And then over here, I'm going to select my heading and then come over here to heading text, into content. And then I'm going to paste it in here like that. All right, let's move on to, I think it needs a full stop. Let's move on to the description, which is this. Copy that. And we're going to paste the description in here like that. Okay, great. So the next thing is our features. So I'm going to select this one here. And the one I want is the K blurb icon. Okay. So with this icon selected, the icon version selected, we need now to go in and add the icon. So the first icon here is going to be an icon of a car. So I'm going to search for car and it's going to be this one. Okay, I think that works. Then I'm going to delete this, duplicate this, delete that. Okay, now it's time for me to go in and add all my text. So this one here is passenger transport. Copy that. And then we're going to paste in here. So you just need to make sure that you have all your text. Copy that, come over here. We're going to paste it in here like that. So what you need to do now, now this is a problem. Do you see that it has taken all the styling? You want to make sure that you delete and add it like that. I think this works much better. Okay. So what you want to do now is to add the other two items, the professional, transport, and the route planning. So for the route planning, I just need to add an icon that works with it. So I'm going to come over here and look for map, because map works with our route planning. So the one I'm going to choose is this one. All right. So now that we have our three icons and we have our section complete now, let's move on to the next one. So I've just noticed that I did not add my text for my main hero area. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that and let's paste it right away. Select my text and then I'm going to paste it. Excellent. The next thing I'm going to do is to make sure I have my description text. But you know, when you land on a page, on a web page, it needs to tell you what the website is about before you even spend more time scrolling. So what I think needs to be done here is, here it says you have a journey to organize, a transfer to anticipate, blah, blah, blah. But I think there is a much better statement. I think I saw it down here somewhere. There we go. So it says Transport LJ is a family business based in blah, blah, blah. So I think this needs to be the text that goes in here, because it clearly says what it is. All right, so I've got that. We don't need this little tiny text here. I'm going to get rid of that. And then we have our two buttons. So for our buttons here, let's go back to the top. It says book my trip, which is brilliant. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say book my trip. Okay, so I got book my trip. Now, as I look at this main hero area, we have two call to actions. We have write to us, okay, and book my trip. But as you can see, the layout here is not really great because there's no proper symmetry. So in my opinion, we're going to get rid of write to us from here and then add it as a second button. Okay, write to us, select that, and then I'm going to say write to us. All right, so far so good. My main hero area now is sorted. My features is sorted. So I have to decide what next needs to follow this. Okay, so we have some testimonials here. Ultimately, what you expect is simple. So I'm going to leave this as, in fact, you know what? This could be another section. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this. But we're going to do it in such a way that, you know, it looks much, much better. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this plus button to add a new section and then say add from library. Okay, so we need a content muted. Select that, use this section. So when you quickly look at this, you'll see that our sections here, we're starting off with a white section. Now we have a muted, because by doing that, it's very easy for us to see where the content ends. So I'm going to start off by coming over here to my main heading, paste what I copied, and then I'm going to come back over here. So we have these check marks, 3 of them: reliable transport, punctual service, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'm going to copy that, and let's add an icon list. Now, I want to show you something really cool. When you purchase Initia starter site, it also has a design system in it, which means you don't have to design these modules. Imagine trying to go in and set the sizes for your icons and so on. Hey, by the way, I forgot to mention this. If you head over to diviuniversity.com, I have a course. If you're new to Divi, it's called the Divi Mastery 2. This course teaches you everything that you need to know about Divi 5. As you know, Divi has been built from the ground up. So this course will help you get up and running super fast. Now, of course, the idea here is to save you a lot of time, because imagine trying to go online and learn how Divi 5 works. Everyone has a different workflow, but the workflow I'm using here is very, very easy to understand. And so far there's 1,622 students. So a lot of people have signed up for this course, which is pretty cool. It's only $37, and just investing in $37, you are going to have a massive bank of knowledge on how to use Divi. All right, so back over here to our site. As I mentioned, I have a design system here, so I'm going to select my module settings. Okay, I'm selecting the item. So on the top here, you can see it says icon list item. So I'm going to come over here, choose my preset. I'm going to go with this one. Boom. All right. So now that I have that, over here on my text, I'm going to paste what I just copied. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is to go to my icon. And for my icon, I'm looking for the check. There we go. So now that I have that, in fact, which one looks better? I think this one looks better. You can even use this if you wanted to. Okay. It just depends. So I'm going to go with that. So with that selected, what I'm going to do now is to go back, and you can see this is my icon list. So what I need to do now is to duplicate this twice and then delete the bottom ones because they don't have the styling. So all I have to do now is to go in and add this one here, punctual service, copy that, come over here, go into the list item, paste it. And then this one here, we are going to call this great support. Okay. Let's call this great support. Okay. So the icon is fine. So the next now is this text. We're going to come over here, and then we're going to say a service that allows you to move forward, blah, blah, blah. We're going to come over here and then replace all this text. Okay. Copy that, delete, and paste. All I have to do now is to make sure that we have a full sentence. All right. So now do you see how this looks now? We also need an image that works with this. I'm going to select this image, go to my image, and then I'm going to choose an icon that works. I want to go with, let's go with this one. Upload image. Right. So do you see now that we're with our text here, we can either have it like this, or we can go in and center it by coming over here to design, layout, and then centering. It's pretty much up to you, but you know what? I prefer it like that. And I'm going to save what I've done so far in case I may lose my content. Okay. So now we have our services. We also have our content here. Let's see what else we need. So we are going to have these testimonials. Okay. You just have to bear that in mind. We've already created this one here, which is fantastic. Okay. So we need to create this one here. Vehicles adapted to every need. Okay. Let's copy that. So what we need this time is another section. It's a featured section, but it's going to be just a normal white. So I'm going to click here, add from library, and then I'm going to say features. All right. So features, let's try this one. Do a quick demo. Yes, that's the one I want. Close out of here, use this section. All right. So now that I've added the features, let's just go in and paste the text that I've just copied. Gonna go in here, paste that. Now, do you see that all I'm doing here is replacing content? It just makes it easy for you, if you're a freelancer or a design agency, to just redesign a website or even design one from scratch. All right, so I'm going to paste this text, and then we're going to have these cars that we need to add. So we have the Porsche Cayenne, Mercedes van, and heavy vehicle goods. Okay, so we're going to need 3 images. So I couldn't get those images. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and use my own images that I found on the internet. So we're going to start with this Audi. I think this is an Audi A3. Okay, so we're going to go into the text and Audi A3. I don't know, I may be wrong. And what description text do we have? All comforts. But I believe that there should be more content that needs to go into this description here. Okay, so Claire, if you're watching, you need to add at least, a bit of text here, because 2 words, doesn't really work. Let's move on to the next one. So this one here is a Mercedes van. So we're going to copy that, then make sure that we have our van. Where is it? There we go. And it so happened to be Mercedes as well, which is pretty cool. All right, so we're going to paste our text in here. And then we also have the truck. We're going to come over here and add the truck. Excellent. So now all I have to say is heavy goods vehicles. Copy that. And then on the text, we're going to paste it like that. All right, so our section here was very, very easy to create. So let's add another one. This time we are going to add a muted one. So it's going to be testimonials. So let's add from library. So here I don't have any testimonials. So this might be a problem, you think, but it's not really a problem. So I want to look for my features, but the features needs to be muted. Okay, so I'm just going to go with this one, use this section. So with my features selection selected, this is what I'm going to change and build from scratch. So I'm going to get rid of that, and then we're going to build our features from scratch. All right, so I'm going to add everything in a group. So the first thing I'm going to have for my features, where are we? Okay, it's the star rating and then the text. Okay, so we're going to have the star rating and the text. So here we are going to need some icons. Okay, so let's add another group, and in that group we're going to add icons. So the icons we're going to have are stars. Okay, so that's the star, and let's see if we can get a icon small. Ideally we want it smaller than that. Okay, so let's go to our icon. Okay, in fact, let's just use this. Let's duplicate this icon a few times. Duplicate. Now that I've duplicated it, I am going to go into the group, go to my layout, and then I'm going to change this to horizontal. You see that? So now I can continue to duplicate. Let's add a 5 stars. All right, so now that I have my 5 stars, the space between is very important. So let's see if we can add extra small gap. Now again, this is coming from my design system, so I'm going to say gap extra small. Yes, that's looking much better. So right now I know I have 2 groups, but I can't tell which group is which. So I'm going to come over here to my layers, make sure that I select my row, and this is the first one, this is the second one. So in the second group, I'm going to add a heading. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to say add element below. It's going to be a heading. And then below that, it's going to be just normal text like that. All right. So we need to do a few touch-ups here. So we're going to go to the main group. And in that main group, we need to have a background colors, because we need to separate it from the background. So I'm going to come over here, and this time we're going to choose white. Okay, so let's go with white. All right, so we're trying to have this design to be just clean and very easy to navigate. So we have white now. we also need some padding around this. So I'm going to come over here. And again, I'm using our design system here. I'm going to go with padding medium. So this is going to be the base for our testimonial. The next thing I'm going to do now is, while I have the group selected, I'm going to come over here to layout and say gap 0. I just want to remove the spacing between all these elements. So now I'm going to start applying it. I'm going to go to my title here, and then I'm going to say spacing and margin top. So I'm going to say margin top medium. Yeah, I think that works. So now let's add our first testimonial. I'm going to copy that, come over here, select it, and over here now on the heading text, we're going to set this to heading 5. Back over here, let's go ahead and add the text, and then I want to copy the description. But you know what? I could have these looking different, but I'm trying to just keep the style of what Claire has on her design here. Okay, so I have this now. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. Okay, so let's say these are our 3 testimonials. I can see the icons are way too big here, but I guess you get the idea. Okay, now let's add text. Let's see. So here we can say testimonials, what our clients are saying about us, what our clients are saying about us. Okay, so my section here is complete, but like I said, I may want to go in and reduce the size of these icons. All right, so did we add this? Yes, we added that section. How can we support you? I'm just thinking, how can we add this content section? So it's similar to what we have before. So back over here, we're going to come to this one and duplicate it. But the background of this one here is going to be white. Okay, so now we have 2 white backgrounds. Anyway, I'm going to fix that in a bit. So now that we have these 2, they're very similar. I'm going to flip them around so that at least we can have this exciting to look at. So I'm just going to drill down here until I get to my groups, and then I'm just going to swap these groups. Okay, do you see that swap happened? On the top one here, the text is on the left, and then on the bottom one here, it is on the right. Okay, so let's go in and fill in this information. So back over here, I'm going to copy that, and let's go ahead and replace it. Okay, so we also have those check marks. In fact, before we do that, how about we add some description text? Select that, paste it. Okay, so let's drag it to the top, and then we need this traffic conditions, seasonality, and so on. Okay, we also have this text. I forgot to add that. Let's add that as a heading. We're going to select it. All right, so now that I have that, I'm going to come over here and set this to a very small heading. Let's try heading 4. Okay, I think heading 4 works. And then we have our bullet points. So if you want, we can have our bullet points, or to have our consistency, we can just go in and add a text like that. Okay, traffic conditions, then we have the seasonality and so on. Now, do you notice something here? Our images are not following like a proper standard. So I'd like to fix that. Now, this image here, I don't have an image to add, but what I'm going to do is to just use a replacement one. Instead of looking for another one, I'm just going to go in and choose. How about we go with this one here? There we go. All right. I know it's not the right image, but I'm just adding it so that we can have something to use for now. So I think I've added majority of the content here. We've got our testimonials. We have our types of vans. We have our content here, which I think is important. We also have our features, and now we have our main landing page. Now, when I look at this, I can see that we have this color right here. I don't have a color picker, but if I had it, I would easily go in and choose our brand color. So what I'm going to do is to head over here to my variable manager and go to colors. So for my primary color, I'm going to try and get that blue. I think it's round about here, round about there. Then I'm going to say save, apply changes. So just by doing that, I was able to update my colors, and you can see my icons here have updated, and it is looking much better. So I'm going to go ahead now and save. Let's do a preview on front end. Okay, so this is now our final design. What happened here? Okay, I'll go in and fix that. So this is our final design. Okay, so I know it still has a bit of work. I need to go in and complete a few other things. But what I would like to hear from you is, what do you think about the process that I've used, especially with Initia, starter site, and of course the design system, to redesign this page quickly and make it look like a much more modern design. I'd like to hear your thoughts, and if you'd like me to design more of these type of websites, please let me know in the comments box below. And to clear, if you like this design, I can share this design with you. Just let me know and I'll do my best to do that. Or if you want me to just redesign the whole website based on what I've done so far, you can send me a private message, and then I can see if I can do this for you. And also look at your timelines and so on. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.